welcome to our debut episode of Black Sesame, an online platform dedicated to telling the stories of Black people living in Taiwan from all across the diaspora. I'm very happy and proud to introduce my first guest, the elegant Emie. Happy Sunday!
Happy Sunday!
Thank you so much for coming and taking out your time to kind of come with me today and talk a little bit about your experiences in Taiwan so far.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. How are you doing today? Good?
Great. How
Okay,
are you?
Great. I'm good. And we talked a little bit about this off camera, but one of the reasons why I wanted you to be my very first interview for the show was because you are from New York, like me, but you're from the city, right?
Yeah.
Okay, which borough are you from?
I lived mostly in Queens, but I always studied in Manhattan, so I commuted a lot.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so we're both from New York, but you're the real New Yorker, I guess, because you're the city person. I'm the suburban person. Okay, great. And you know, city people always like to say, "Oh, well, I'm from Queens, I'm from Brooklyn,
Yeah.
and if you're anything past this, that's upstate." Are you one of those people?
I have to admit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. But I wanted to start off today's conversation just by asking you a little bit about why you decided to come to Taiwan, and really, how long have you lived in Taiwan? I guess is my first question for you.
I've lived here for almost 3 years.
Almost 3
November
years,
is going to be my 3 years for my 30th anniversary.
Okay, great. And why did you decide to come to Taiwan in the first place?
My story is a bit different from a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a teenager, I started watching Taiwanese dramas, and I was obsessed.
Okay.
I loved the language, I loved everything. So I went to the library, and I got this, it's called Teach Yourself brand, and I was teaching myself Chinese.
Okay.
And I was like going through the songs, through everything, and like everyone in my family was making fun of me because I was like super weird. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Go to the computer room, just like translate word by word, or like watch shows and like really go into it. And then I did 2 years in college
Okay.
of language, and
Okay.
also dual majored in Asian studies because I was like so into it. But I didn't speak Chinese for a long time. And one thing that I really wanted to do as a kid was to come to Taiwan to learn Chinese because I want to be a fluent Chinese speaker, just because it's just a passion of mine, something fun that I have going for myself. And I finally was able to do it. So I came here and I did 10 months of Chinese language. And then I became a lazy student.
Okay.
And I'm no longer teaching myself or even practicing as much as I want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really cool. So you said Taiwanese dramas?
Yes.
You're watching them?
Yeah.
On which channel were they?
There was so back then I started with Korean dramas because
Okay.
in the city, like when there was like a channel or something on, like, I don't know if it was local cable, I don't know what, that would transform into a Korean network every single day, I think from 6 to 9 or something, and they would start with the Korean dramas. And then afterwards we started, my sister and I, we started trying to find those dramas online on YouTube.
Okay.
And then through that, we discovered Taiwanese dramas. And then the storylines, like the older Taiwanese dramas were really good.
Okay.
Silly storylines, but very, like, it was nice.
Okay.
And then that's how it
That's how
evolved
it all
from there.
started. Okay.
And then there was this website that now morphed into something a lot more called Viki. And before, what you could do as a user is you can also write subtitles. So I was actually translating as well, like some of the Chinese that I knew, because like if you translated enough, then your name would pop up in the intro and people are watching it and everything. Like,
okay.
oh, thank you. Subtitles were brought by these users. You know, we want to thank them. Blah blah blah.
Okay.
So yeah, I got to practice a lot more.
Okay, that's really cool. And had you been anywhere else in Asia before you came to Taiwan, or is this your first Asian country?
This is my first and only.
First and only. Okay,
Yeah.
same as me. First and only. Okay. And before you moved, did you do any? I mean, it sounds like you were already kind of into the culture a little bit. Did you do any extra research before you moved here?
I wouldn't say I was very much into the Taiwanese culture. I like studying, for Asian studies, I like studying Chinese history.
Okay.
But I prefer the Taiwanese Chinese accent. So when I came here, I had an expectation or a reality that came from dramas.
Okay.
That was a little bit different.
Yeah.
from my actual reality. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Nice. And then, did you know anyone before you moved here, or did you come here completely solo?
I came here completely solo.
Okay.
I had a Chinese language teacher from Taiwan, who I think she's back in Kaohsiung. We
Okay.
haven't met up, but I came here completely solo.
Completely solo.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you feel about making that move by yourself?
It was at a point in my life where I needed a change, so it was therapeutic. But my brother was very concerned that when I was going to come here, I was going to have a culture shock and all of that. And I got off the plane and I was like, okay, it's like Flushing. I had no culture shock. I had some cab drivers try to dupe me by saying like, oh no, this is Uber or something. And I was just like, first of all, I speak Chinese. Second, I'm like, I want the yellow car. And then he was like, because I wanted a taxi.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh no, there are no yellow cabs here, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what's that?
Okay.
It was like right behind us. So they were just trying to like play games.
Trying to get over on you a little bit.
Yeah.
Thinking they're like the dumb foreigner that doesn't really know. Okay, they can understand. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
But then like there was this woman that was very concerned by this conversation. She was already going into like savior mode, and I was like, I'm fine. I'm from New York. I'm from the city. Like,
right.
This is not how my life is gonna go.
Yeah.
of all the ways, this one isn't it.
Okay, great. And did you, obviously, you know, being a black woman, did you have any concerns about what it was like, or about what your experience living over here as a black woman would be like, or were you also pretty cool and confident with that as well?
I didn't feel like I was gonna experience as much racism or discrimination as I had, or standing out as much, because I just assumed it was going to be like Flushing. I had grown up with Asians before, Chinese speaking, whatever, like I never had a problem. Right. So when I moved here, I just assumed it'd be that. Okay. I didn't think I would stand out as much, and it's silly of me to when I go back and I look back on like my expectation of what I thought my reality would be like, because obviously I would experience that, but in my mind, because I felt so connected to Taiwan, I liked it, I was very passionate about it when I was coming, I just assumed that I would just be fine, I would blend in, and I could have the Taiwanese experience that I wanted. Right. So it was very shocking for me to feel discriminated against. Right. That was what was hardest.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because sometimes when I'm on Instagram, I get a lot of DMs from people, mainly other black women. They say they have a lot of questions, but the one that's always at the top is, how's the racism? You know, are they really racist? How are they treating you? Are they nice to you over there? And I can only speak to my experience, and that for the most part, I think I've been fine. Any racism that I have experienced, which not from what I can tell, isn't really much, has been very covert. It's not really in your face. That's my experience. Have you had the same experience as well? It's definitely covert.
Yeah. It's definitely like there are layers of microaggressions. There are things that people do that I don't know if they realize. I feel like they do, because when I put the situation back, like, and I have them look at put themselves in my shoes, you know, they are also uncomfortable. Right. But, you know, I don't know, it's like, for example, you're on the train, and it's like moments where I experience it a lot more. You're on the train or you're on the bus, and people come in and they look at you and they're scared, and then they run the other way. And it's not even in a discreet way, but it's like, you know? And I'm like, how do you think somebody would feel when they see that? Right. That being said, there are still some people that are great that I've met, and there are some I've met some of the worst people in my life here as well. So I can't say that the whole country, and it's also unfair to say that the whole country's personality is one way or the other. I don't think everyone is nice. Right. And I do think that for, like, culturally for me, some of the niceness that they have is actually invasive. Okay. So I think what they term nice is a little bit different. So they would say like, oh, I'm being nice, I'm asking you these questions about yourself, but they ask you invasive and inappropriate questions that from my cultural point of view, you cannot do. Right. And then the thing is, what I try to do is I ask them the same questions, but they're unwilling to answer. So what does that say about that kind of like niceness? If you're asking me questions, but I can't ask you the same, is it really welcoming, being nice, or is it like you feel like you are entitled to invade my privacy because I'm an other, and I'm in your country, and therefore you need to have all the information about me that you want. Right. So it's this kind of confusing, and then also with the niceness, it's like sometimes it's because you want to, like some people, not everyone, want to have that token black friend. Or have pictures with you, or to tell people like, oh, I know a black person, I met a black person.
Right.
And just suddenly your picture's all over the place.
Right.
Like, it's just like, I know someone who, and just a bit off topic, I was on a dating website and I saw a Taiwanese guy post a picture of him with my friend as his profile picture.
Yeah.
And I messaged my friend, I'm like, are you aware that this is what's happening? Because like, all these pictures, where do they go? What do you use that for?
Yeah, that's always my thing, and I know we talked about this a little bit before, and just so everyone's clear. So when someone, if a person comes up to you and says, oh, you know, oh, you're very beautiful, oh, whatever, you know, and they say, oh, can we take a photo? Your answer is
no.
Okay, and why is it? It's no, because
it's uncomfortable. It's weird.
Yeah, I
why
agree.
do you want to take a picture of me? Where is that photo gonna go? What are you doing with it? Like, what is the fascination? Like, I understand, because when I moved to the U.S., I was born in Gabon, and I moved to the U.S., first time I saw an Asian person, I was interested. You know, again, I dual major in Asian studies. I liked the language, I was very curious, and I can't say that I didn't do the staring that I experienced, you know, as a kid, but just coming up to someone and wanting a picture with them, for what purpose? I don't understand it, and I can't sympathize. That being said, Taiwanese people take pictures of everything. So, I don't know.
And it always is wonder, like, what are you going to do with it? And I think we talked about this before, but when a few weeks ago I was on the MRT and this woman asked for a photo, we took a photo, because I said, okay, you know, we can take a photo, because she asked nicely. We took it, and then we exchanged lines, you know, contact info, so she could send me the photos. She sent them to me, and then she also sent me a photo that she took of me without my knowledge before she asked me for the actual photos that we took together. And I'm thinking to myself, damn, like, if I would have known that this woman was taking photos of me without my knowledge, I never would have agreed to take a photo with her, you know? So something like that makes me rethink, like, maybe I should be a little bit more firm in saying no to people, even if they do ask nicely, because you never know where it's going to end up. It is quite strange to ask a random stranger for a photo when you don't know what they're going to do with it, or if you know, it is pretty weird. It is quite strange. And then speaking of, I think something that goes along topic with the photos is the staring. When I first moved here, I was so, even still now, it still really bothers me when people stare at me, whether it's on the MRT, on the bus, on the train, whether I'm in 7-Eleven, walking to work, wherever it is. It makes me, I think it probably makes all of us uncomfortable. I'm used to it, but I still don't like it. So how do you feel about people just really grilling you when you're out in public?
First, in New York, you don't look at New York.
Right.
So I had to calm down. Like, at first, like, I'm on the train, I'm like, are we fighting?
Right.
Like, is there a problem? But then later on, like, I remember my first week here, probably my second day, I called my dad crying. And I was like, I want to leave. I had such high expectations of Taiwan. I was so, before Taiwan was really like, I felt like I was really connected to it. And I came here and I was so disappointed. I was like, whoa, the staring, the following. I've gotten followed home a couple times.
Oh wow. Okay.
And one time was to the point where I had to stop in a store and to tell them that somebody is following me, and then the guy just, like, you know, went past and, like, you know. But it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Very, and especially on days when, you know, because moving to a new country is one thing. Moving to a country where you're like a minority is another thing. Moving to a country where you're in a minority and you're looked down upon because of the color of your skin and discriminated against. That, for me, I guess some people won't call it discrimination. From my point of view, discriminated against. And there's also some positive and negative discrimination. You know, there are some good things that I get from it. I'm not gonna, you know, ignore that as well. But it's hard, you know, some days it's really difficult. Like, I know I spoke to a few people here, and some days you don't want to leave the house. Like, I knew in the beginning, like, I would just cry, and I'm like, I can't go outside today. People are going to be looking at me and staring, and pictures, wanting to touch me. I had a woman by NTU, and she was on her scooter, and then she stops with a sense of urgency. Oh, 小姐, 小姐. And I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe she's lost. I'm going to give her directions. She's like, can I rub your skin? and she was serious.
Yeah, she was serious.
And I tried to take it with grace.
Yeah.
And I let her. I was so uncomfortable with the fact that I let her. I felt violated. For me, it was like,
Right.
you know, when like you're being assaulted, but yet your response is kind of like to accept that, you know, that assault.
Right.
I think some people don't even realize that they make people feel this way, but you
Right.
feel really bad, and you're just there like, okay.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, what she was explaining, which is why I think a lot of people forgive the microaggression or discriminatory comments that Taiwanese people say or make, from my point of view, is that she was really like, no, I think your skin is really nice, because she's like, are you afraid of mosquitoes? And I'm like, that's such a weird question.
Yeah.
But she's like, no, your skin is really like nice, like you don't have the freckles that I do when I get bitten by mosquitoes. And I'm like, okay. Later on, like after having that part of the conversation, I was like, okay, I kind of understand. But still, you don't stop people and just start rubbing their skin, and you know that you don't know.
Yeah.
Like I really thought she was lost. And this was by NTU, a reputable university, the number one university here in Taiwan, where there are foreigners around in that area, like, you know. And I was just like dumbfounded that was the experience.
Yeah, and that's why I'm glad we're having this conversation because I feel like people, when I share these things on my social media, when I share things that happen to me, I feel like some people think, oh no, like, you know, this is an exaggeration. I'm like, no, it's real. I had the same thing happen to me. I was in a bar that a Taiwanese friend of mine used to work in, and her coworker asked her, she said, oh, Sydney, my coworker, she said she wants to touch your skin because she's always heard that black people have really nice skin. And I did the same thing. I let her, and she was like, ooh. And I'm thinking, like, you know, it's just lotion. Like, you know, it was so strange, you know, which, I don't know, did they use lotion? I think
they tend not to.
I don't know
I had
if
to explain to
I don't know
some
if they
people what
moisturize.
lotion was.
Yeah, so maybe from that sense, you know, because we moisturize, we're black,
Yeah.
we moisturize, right? So maybe, oh yeah, it's really soft. I'm like, yeah, because I use lotion. It was so weird. I'm like, if they are curious about our hair, that's one thing, because that's really different. But someone's skin, I'm like, I'm just brown. That's it. So it was really, really strange to me. So I'm sorry that you had that experience, but I'm also glad in a way, because I know what that's like to have someone ask you to touch your skin, and then you say yeah, but it's a strange experience. It's a really weird experience.
I really wish that in those moments, like, and I feel like, because I've done this for different things that they've asked me, if I asked her if I could touch her skin, she would be like shocked and like, why would you ask me to touch? That's the thing. In different cultures that, you know, I've met people from different countries or whatever, and they're like, oh, can I touch your skin? Or, oh, can I touch your hair? And you're like, yeah, can I touch yours? You know, like, and it's fine.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Right.
It's different because it's like, oh, we're both being curious about each other, we're getting to know each other.
Right.
But I feel like in a lot of those situations, it's like shocking for me to ask for the exact same things that they ask of me. And that's where I start to feel that there is like this instability, lack of equality
it's
there. And I'm like, I don't know, then what is that saying to you? Are you really being kind, or do you feel like you can invade my you can invade my body, you can invade my space, you can invade my privacy, or like, you know, why do you feel like you're entitled to do that to me?
Right.
And if it was kind, then I can ask you the same questions and you would be receptive to answering it.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of people are not.
They're not, right, exactly. And it's the same thing with the hair. I was working and I had I think she might have been like, she was an older woman, and she was standing very close to me, and she just touched my hair, and I just kind of, I kind of, you know, had to gently ease it on back, and she was like, oh, yeah, it's very beautiful. I said, oh, yeah, no, thank you. But I was at work, so I couldn't, like, I had to keep it together. I couldn't make a big deal of it. And I'm thinking, like, you
That's
know,
really sad.
yeah, I'm
like
thinking,
the fact that you have to make them comfortable with assault. That's assault. You touch me, that counts as assault, right? You are assaulting me, but I have to make you comfortable with what you're doing to me. That's wrong.
Right. I was just I'm thinking, like, what planet am I living on? Because believe it or not, I'd never really, like, small children, yes, because they're curious, but adults, I never really had I've only had one other experience where it was a Chinese man who touched my hair. Other than that, that was only the second time that it ever happened to me. So I wasn't shocked by it, but I was just like, I rolled my eyes in my head. I'm like, okay, here we go. Now I have to like brush that off like it was nothing, but it's not nothing. You should not be touching people without their consent.
Yeah.
It's a very simple thing, but when they see a black person, specifically
They
black
feel like
girl,
they can touch
they
you.
think they can touch you, and I'm thinking,
It's giving colonized.
like,
It is!
Like, come on.
That's how it was before.
Yeah.
Like, black people are objects.
Yeah.
That's, the whole having black people in zoos, like,
Yeah.
we should, like, not saying that that's how they feel, but it's that feeling
That's the
of,
vibe.
like,
Yeah.
black people are there for our entertainment and for us to do whatever it is that we want. That's how it comes across. And I don't know if they realize it, but yeah.
Yeah, that's how it comes across, absolutely. And speaking of, again, being black in Taiwan, did you know anything about the black community here before you moved?
I think I found a Facebook group before I came.
Is it Brothers and Sisters
Yeah.
of Taiwan? Okay, yeah.
I
okay.
think that's the one I found. Yeah.
Okay. And then now that you've been here for almost 3 years, do you feel a part of the black community here? Do you feel like really involved? Do you think you know a lot of people?
I feel like a lot of people have moved over
Okay.
time as well.
Okay.
So I think now I don't have as strong of a tie to the black community as I wish or have thought that I had in the past. Because there are a lot of people, there are a lot of events, there are pockets, depending on interests and everything.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that it's strong. However, I do have black people I can talk to about like my experiences and my reality, and I looked for that when I came in because I was like, I need that. So the first thing I did when I moved to Taiwan, actually, I was on this Taipei ladies group,
Okay.
and I saw 2 black girls answered something, and I just messaged them and I'm like, do you want to be my friend? That's my personality. I just and then they were the 2 friends that I made here, and I was just like, that's how I started to vibe and started to have that sense of community that I needed, because some days where I felt like I can't go outside today, it was a lot. I think moving, it's not just the Taiwan, like, well, I'm in Taiwan, I don't want to go outside, I don't feel safe. No, physically I feel safe.
Right.
I don't feel like anybody's going to harm me because I'm black. I don't feel like, but it's just like the mental.
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
because you can't justify or prove your mental, your discomfort, right? Somebody's always going to tell you that it's unjustified, and I'm pretty sure like some Taiwanese people are going to come in and say like, no, we're not this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, this is how I see it.
Right.
So if I'm interpreting your actions this way, maybe you have to also reflect on how it's being perceived, not necessarily just your intention.
Right.
Because I know that you don't intentionally want to make people uncomfortable. However, your actions are making someone uncomfortable. And instead of like criticizing them for feeling uncomfortable, think about how you can change what it is that you do to solve that, that miscommunication.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, because that was, for me, that was one of the things that I didn't know. It's not that I assumed that I'd be the only black woman living in Taiwan, but you hop off the plane, everyone's staring at you. Well, at least for me, everyone was staring at me, and I'm thinking like, what's up? And I'm like, oh right, I'm an Asian.
Yeah, you have to remember.
I forgot. Oh right, let me remember where I am. So I was very pleasantly surprised to see that. Again, I don't know if I'd really describe the black community here as strong, but we do have a presence.
Yeah.
We are here.
Presence.
We do have a presence. I think most of us are probably up here in Taipei, New Taipei in the north. So I do, so I'm glad that we are having this conversation, because I think that some people feel like, oh no, well, this is Taiwan, and they know that Japan, black expats go there, they know that they're in South Korea, they know that they're in China, but I feel like Taiwan, I like to describe it as a bit of a hidden gem, because growing up, I actually had Taiwanese neighbors, so I always knew about Taiwan, but outside of them, I didn't know much about it. So when I moved here, people thought, oh no, she's going to China.
Yeah.
No. Oh no, she's going to Thailand. I'm like, no, it's Taiwan, separate but close to China, but not the same thing. Not too far from Thailand, but also not that close, and different countries, different geographical locations, right? So I knew that we as a people had a presence in China, Japan, and South Korea, but in Taiwan, when I was doing my research, I literally typed in being Black in Taiwan, being Black in these places, and I found everything about South Korea, China, Japan. I found an article written by a Black woman who traveled all around Southeast Asia and India, and there was nothing on Taiwan. So I was excited, but I was nervous because I'm thinking, well, there's no information, so what does that mean? What's going to happen to me when I go over there? And I'm glad that you brought up, I was going to ask you, do you feel safe living here as a Black woman? And I'm glad I do too. Yeah.
That's one of the beautiful things about it, because even though you do get, I occasionally follow it, I guess, you get the pictures, you get the videos or whatever, I don't feel like someone is going to try to attack me, and I don't feel not physically safe. I don't feel physically unsafe being Black in Taiwan, and that's something that's very important to note, because I think when you talk about like discrimination, like people think no, but we're not attacking anybody. It's more psychological or mental, the impact that it has, and I think people don't really talk about it or focus on that a little bit, about how like really like just those moments. And it was so fascinating when I opened up to another Black person, and I was like, yeah, I have some days where I feel like I can't leave the house, and he was really voicing, he's like, yeah, some days are very hard for me as well. And I was like, whoa, I'm not the only one that feels this way.
And do you feel like there's I guess, do you feel like the bonds are strong between, let's say, maybe like the Black American community, the Black African community, and the Black Caribbean community? Do you think everyone kind of comes together, or do you think it's kind of separate?
I think it's separate.
Okay.
Except when there's like an event, but even an event, everyone is there.
Yeah.
But it's still separate.
Yeah.
I don't think that there is like a Black identity unity.
Okay.
There's the Black Americans, there's the
Yeah.
Black Africans, there's the Black Caribbeans.
Okay.
And all of them do their own thing.
Okay.
I would say that the Black Caribbeans are the most active.
Okay.
Like in terms of, and they're very like, I would say really accepting of everyone who's Black. You go to any of their events, they're just like, hey, all positive. So I tend to gravitate a lot towards Black Caribbean, because they also have the most events as well.
Okay.
And their events usually just encompassing everybody.
Yeah.
So I think they're the strongest.
The strongest.
And I think population-wise.
Okay, you think so? The Caribbeans.
Yeah,
okay.
because they have diplomatic ties to Taiwan. So
Right.
they have a lot more people that come here and study and stay, and of course, so those ties over the years become really strong. People go and they come back. So I think like they are kind of like, not the gatekeeper, but like if you're Black in Taiwan and you really want to have a connection to home, wherever you are, geographically from, if you find like the Black Caribbean, like the Caribbean community, they're always really welcoming.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
and they
good.
have very good food.
Yeah. I know, that's the thing. As a Black American, and this might sound weird since I'm from New York, but I'm suburbs, so this makes me white because I'm the suburbs. But anyway, so I didn't really have a lot of experience, being around people from like St. Kitts and Nevis or like Barbados or Jamaica or Nigeria. So for me, I feel like I'm in heaven. I love my Black Caribbean friends. I love my Black African friends. I'm listening to Afro beats more. I love it. And I'm like, who would have thought that me living in Taiwan would bring me closer to all these great Black people? I never would have thought, So it's been a really nice, pleasant surprise, I think, so far. And the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, we kind of touched on it briefly before, but hair, right? Whenever I have a Black woman come into my DMs and say, hey, I'm really interested in moving to Taiwan, I want to teach, I want to visit, but what about my hair? What do you do with your hair? Because, we've met before, so, I used to have a really low, like faded, like a really short cut. And so, when you moved here, did you have any concerns about like hair care or hairstyles, or who can do my hair? Can I get a proper hairdresser? Did you have any concerns about that?
Definitely, and I think that's the reality for Black women anywhere in the world.
True.
Like our hair is politicized, and it influences the way people perceive you and everything, and their reactions to you. And I think because of all of that, outside of Taiwan, even before Taiwan, hair is a very sensitive issue for me. So if I get like negative comments on my hair, people touch my hair, people do all that, that hurts me a lot more than I think people intended to.
Right.
So yeah, when I came here, it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was, but I did have that in mind when I was coming in here. I knew, I just wasn't prepared for the humidity. Like
right.
that was the shock. I was
That's,
like,
yeah,
okay,
right, yeah.
because I moved in November, so
okay.
it's like it was fun. I had
it was
good
yeah,
few
November was
months,
fun, yeah.
And then afterwards, I was like, whoa,
yeah,
okay, this is
it
new.
Hits you.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what to do. I'm running out of hair products. Where do I buy hair products? It's like I came here, I went to Target. I took all of my deep conditioners, like the whole aisle. I was like, I'm getting all of it because I'm not sure what I'm gonna have access to. And to be honest, and this, I'm so sorry, Taiwan, but I came here with my own lotion because I thought that all the lotion here would have bleaching aspects. And like when I went to Poya for the first time and I was trying to buy lotion, or like a toner, I asked them, I'm like, is this going to make me white? Because I don't want it to make me white.
Right.
And because that was my assumption of all the options that they would have here. And I'm so happy that I was wrong.
Yeah.
Like there is definitely whitening products and everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But there is none as well. So
yeah.
Like, thank you. Okay, I understand now how to shop. But
right.
My misconception.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I was also really, because one of the reasons why I cut my hair before I moved here was I'd always wanted to cut it, but I didn't know. I was certain there would be no one who could be able to do my hair. And look at me now. Shout out to Freddie. I have blue braids in Taiwan, you know? So I just wanted to let other black women and even black men, we have barbers here, we have, you know, there's all different types of people everywhere on the island that can, black people who can do black hair. So that doesn't really need to be a concern for anyone about hair, you know? And now, what would you say is your favorite thing about Taiwan? Your favorite thing? That might be a little bit hard, maybe there's a few different things, but do you have one thing in particular that you really love about being here?
The thing that I'm attached to when it comes to Taiwan that I think I'm gonna have a hard time when I leave one day is the ability to use Chinese. I have a strong attachment to learning Chinese, especially in Taiwan. It's been like that since I was a kid, and I feel like that's, you know, an important aspect. And it doesn't matter where I go, I won't be able to have that. And I don't want like because there are different accents. Yeah. This is the accent that I like.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And what would you say has been your best experience living here so far?
Definitely the MS. They're crazy. Okay. I like older people.
Yeah.
They have been the kindest consistently. I've never felt any sort of negative, like any discrimination. Like they might say something but not mean it that way. They remind me a lot of like my grandmother. Yeah. And my grandmother would say things that are out of place, but not because that's how she intends it to be. Right. So like they would say like, oh my god, you're so black, but not like you're so black, ew, it's disgusting. But they're just like, oh, okay. And then like, you're so black, it's so beautiful. Like literally. And I'm like, they are the best. They're so kind. They are so generous, and they're so positive. I just adore them. They ask me about my life stories. Whatever it is that they want to sit next to you and ask you questions, and they are the best part of Taiwan.
That's great. Oh, I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, and my friend and I were just talking the other day about how, I don't know, we feel like people here are just they're really kind, they're really friendly, and it's, I don't know, it's just, it's not that we weren't expecting them to be so nice, but they, especially the older people, they are really, really nice. They're very, very kind. And if there was any piece of advice, really one piece of advice you could give to black women who want to move to Taiwan, what would that be? That's kind of a tough one.
That is a
Maybe.
tough one.
Because there's a lot to know about living here, but you know, or maybe, or is there anything that you wish you knew, like one important thing specifically before you moved here?
Honestly, nothing is coming to mind right now. just travel and explore, I guess. But that seems so cliche, and that's what they're gonna come here to do anyways.
Yeah.
But there are gonna be some days that are gonna be tough.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've never traveled, again, this is my first Asian country, and so it's a different experience for me. It's new, being such a distinct minority, somewhere new, so the experience is it's a bit difficult for me sometimes. I've gotten used to it, but just give yourself grace and know that there are going to be moments that are hard, and there are going to be some moments when you're going to cry, you're going to want to go home, and there are going to be definitely miscommunication. There's going to be some moments where you feel like, oh my god, everyone's taking pictures of me, following me. Maybe not as much as the years go on,
right.
Obviously because of exposure, because people learn more, but it's just like there are going to be some overwhelming days just being Black in a monocultural area, and you're coming in as the other, but you have to give yourself grace and try to find, people with your cultural background, because you're going to realize that, your situation is not, unique, and people have gone through it, and sometimes you just need to talk about it and you're going to feel much better. Find your community and give yourself grace and time to settle in.
I like that. Find your community and give yourself grace. I like that. All right, well, I think that about wraps up our debut episode of Black Sesame. Thank you, Elegant Emie, for coming on to. Oh, actually, before you wrap it up, do you want to teach her a little Chinese before you go?
Okay, what do you want to?
Okay, how do I say no photos, please?
Oh, 不要照片.
不要照片. Oh, okay, 不要照片. Okay, there we go. Thank you. We got it. Okay, thank you. So yes, thank you so much for watching or listening to our debut episode of Black Sesame. Thank you, Emie, again for coming in, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Bye.
That's it.